We like to think of ourselves as the apex predators now. And sure, today we've got guns, cities, AI, and TikTok. But go back just 50,000 years, and humans were not running the show. We were prey, weak, slow, soft-skinned with no claws, no fangs, and barely any stamina compared to the monsters lurking in the wild. And I'm not just talking about sabertooths or dire wolves. I'm talking about absolute prehistoric giants. Beasts so massive, so terrifying, they didn't just hunt humans to survive. They hunted us like playthings, like we were just another snack to toss around. There were creatures so confident in their dominance that they'd treat human beings like sport, not food. These were the original apex predators, and to them, early humans were just hairless bipeds stumbling through their territory. We weren't just afraid of the dark back then, we were afraid of what owned it. Let's break down the most terrifying prehistoric giants that likely hunted humans for fun. Megthropus. First off, let's talk about Megthropus, literally giant man. No, this isn't a fantasy creature. This was a real hominid, a possible cousin of Homo erectus, standing possibly up to 8 feet tall, with a jaw so thick and wide it could bite through raw bone like it was candy. Now here's the creepy part. Megthropus might not have been friendly. In fact, there's a theory that these ancient giants weren't just competing with early Homo sapiens, they were eliminating them. Skulls found in Java and other parts of Southeast Asia show signs of blunt force trauma, shattered craniums, crushed eye sockets, and no sign of animal tooth marks, just brute strength. What does that mean? It means these giants may have hunted smaller humans, not for food, but out of territorial dominance, like, you don't belong here, and I'm gonna make sure of it. And if you're imagining a real-life ogre hunting down a tiny early human just because he wandered into the wrong part of the jungle, you're not far off.
Gigantopithecus. Now let's talk about something even bigger. Gigantopithecus. Think King Kong, but real. This beast was a 10-foot-tall ape weighing over 1,000 pounds. And yeah, sure, some scientists like to comfort themselves by saying, oh, it probably just ate bamboo. But we don't know that. Fossils are rare. Behavior doesn't fossilize. And let's be honest, if a 1,000-pound ape was hungry and saw a vulnerable human with no fire, no weapons, and zero protection, are you really telling me it would just wave and walk away? Gigantopithecus might have been territorial, maybe even aggressive, and when it came across our ancestors who were still figuring out how to tie rocks to sticks, it didn't take much to imagine it grabbing a human like a chew toy. And here's the kicker, this thing lived in the dense forests of ancient Asia, shadows, fog, twigs snapping behind you. That primal fear of being watched? Yeah, that was probably Gigantopithecus, and if it didn't eat us, it sure as hell had fun chasing us. The Shortfaced Bear. Then we've got one of the most underrated monsters of the Ice Age, Arctodus simus, also known as the Short-Faced Bear. Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. This was a bear on steroids, standing 12 feet tall on its hind legs, weighing over a ton, and capable of running up to 40 miles per hour. Let that sink in. A bear the size of a van, faster than Usain Bolt, and with jaws strong enough to crush a mammoth's spine. And guess who it shared the continent with? Early humans. There's no doubt about it. This bear saw us, smelled us, knew we were easy prey. And just like a cat doesn't need to chase a laser pointer but does it anyway, that's what Arctodus did to humans. We weren't worth the calories, but we were fun to chase. And for a bear that big, it wasn't hunting to survive, it was dominating its environment. And when early humans made campfires at night, huddled together for warmth, do you think they were worried about wolves? No, they were listening for something much heavier crashing through the trees. Terror birds. You want prehistoric horror? Let me introduce you to the Faraz Rasids, also known as the terror birds. These were flightless predators standing up to 10 feet tall with axe-like beaks that could split skulls. Literally, one strike with that beak and your story ended there. And yes, they lived alongside early humans in South America. These weren't dumb birds. They were fast, smart, and hunted in open terrain. Ever been chased by a goose? Now imagine that goose is 10 feet tall, runs 45 miles per hour, and has a murder weapon for a mouth. That's the terror bird. And to them, a little Homo sapiens crossing the plains was nothing but target practice. You wouldn't even hear them coming. No growl, no roar, just a blur of feathers and a flash of bone-crushing impact.
Sabertooths. Smilodon, the iconic saber-toothed cat, is always framed like some majestic feline. But here's the thing people don't mention enough. Smilodon didn't just kill prey, it played with it. Fossil evidence shows that saber-tooths had incredibly strong forelimbs designed to grapple and hold victims in place. These weren't clean kills. They'd pin their prey down, toy with it, then sink those massive fangs in slowly, precisely, surgically. You can't convince me that kind of behavior wasn't sadistic. These cats weren't just hunting, they were testing, teasing, enjoying the thrill. And when they crossed paths with humans, it wasn't survival, it was sport. You were nothing more than a struggling, screaming, warm body, and they made sure you knew it before the end came. Crocodile titans. You think Nile crocodiles are scary? Meet Deinosuchus, literally meaning terrible crocodile. This beast was over 35 feet long, weighed more than 8 tons, and had a bite force that could crush dinosaurs. Now picture that thing lurking in the muddy riverbanks of North America while early humans came down for a drink. We're talking about a living log of death. You wouldn't see it, you wouldn't hear it. One second, you're filling a clay pot with water. The next, you're gone. Just a splash, a scream, and then silence. And here's the terrifying part. Crocodilians wait. They're not aggressive, they're patient. They don't chase you, they let you come to them. Deinosuchus wasn't chasing mammoths across the plains. No, it was lying in wait, knowing that sooner or later something desperate would come to the river. That's how they toyed with humans, because they didn't have to work for it. They were death embodied, just waiting. And humans, being the curious, thirsty, often clueless creatures we are, walked right into their jaws.
Andrew's beast. Let's talk about a creature that sounds like it walked straight out of a nightmare. Andrewsarchus. This thing wasn't a dinosaur. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't even a wolf. It was something in between, and possibly worse than all three combined. Discovered in Mongolia, Andrewsarchus was a massive predator, up to 13 feet long, with a skull over 3 feet in size. It had the build of a bear, the snout of a wolf, and the teeth of a bone-crushing hyena. Some paleontologists think it might have been a scavenger. Others think it was a pack-hunting predator. But here's what we think. It didn't care what you were. If you crossed its path, you were a chew toy. Imagine a nomadic tribe crossing the windswept plains of Central Asia. Suddenly, a hulking, four-legged beast with the head of a monstrous dog starts stalking them. That's not an animal, that's a curse. And when early humans moved into its territory, Andrewsarchus probably didn't just see competition, it saw entertainment. You can't convince me that a predator that big, that versatile, and that strange didn't toy with its victims. It didn't just kill, it demoralized. Megalania. Australia didn't get left out of the nightmare parade. Say hello to Megalania, the ancient giant lizard that makes modern Komodo dragons look like geckos. We're talking 20 feet long, over 1,000 pounds, and possibly venomous. Early Aboriginal Australians may have encountered this beast, and let's be real,
If your first contact with the land down under was a skyscraper-sized venom lizard that could sprint, crush, and poison, you'd want to leave. Megalania probably wasn't picky. Kangaroos? Sure. Giant wombats? Why not? But slow-moving two-legged humans with no armor and little experience fighting reptiles the size of SUVs? That was an easy and probably fun target. This thing could lurk, chase, and wait. And venom? That means it could bite and then watch its prey suffer, drag itself, collapse, twitch. That's not just a kill, that's a spectacle. And Megalania? It was the front-row audience and the executioner. American lion. Next up, the American lion, Panthera atrox, the largest lion species to ever exist. Bigger than today's African lions by almost 25%. That means taller, longer, and with more muscle mass. These beasts stalked the plains of North America and probably hunted anything with a pulse, including us. This wasn't Simba. This was Scar if he'd hit the gym every day and taken steroids. Fossils show that these lions roamed wide territories and may have lived in prides, or worse, hunted alone. Which means you wouldn't have seen them coming. No growling, no roar, just a shadow in the grass. And then teeth. To a lion this size, humans were barely a warm-up. Think about it. You're trying to hunt bison or deer with stone tools, and this thing is hunting you. Not because it needs to, but because you're there. Because it can. You didn't just run from these lions. You prayed they weren't bored enough to chase you.
The anvil-headed nightmare, Dina Cruata. Time to head into Africa, where Dina Cruata reigned. This wasn't your average hyena. It was a 500-pound, bone-shattering nightmare with jaws built to crush elephant femurs. Its name literally means terrible hyena, and yeah, it earned it. Dina Cruata was so aggressive, so vicious, that even Sabertooths gave it space. It didn't hunt with elegance. It didn't stalk like a cat. It rushed you, ambushed you, tackled you head-on. And unlike other predators that might have aimed for a quick kill, Dina Cruata was messy. It went for the slow takedown. Bite, thrash, crush. Not for food, for fun. Early humans who migrated through Africa didn't just face leopards and lions. They faced these prehistoric juggernauts, jaws like bear traps, and temperaments like rabid dogs. You weren't just prey, you were a punching bag with legs. The giant hyenas of Europe, Patchy Crua. Sticking with the hyena theme, let's not forget Patchy Crua brevirostris, the giant short-faced hyena of Ice Age Europe. This brute was the size of a lion, weighing up to 400 pounds, and specialized in stealing kills and breaking bones. Here's the ticker. There's growing evidence that Patchy Crua followed early humans around, not to avoid them, not to live in peace, but to shadow them, to steal their kills, to intimidate them, to attack when their guard was down. This hyena didn't just survive on scraps, it used early humans like hunting proxies. Let us do the hard work and then swoop in and take the prize. And if we didn't surrender the meat fast enough, it used its jaws to settle the argument. This is harassment on an evolutionary scale. These things didn't just want your food, they wanted your fear. They trained us to be afraid, to stay small, to keep our fires burning and our weapons close, because if we didn't, we ended up as the main course.
Hell pigs. Now, let's get into one of the most ridiculously terrifying creatures you've probably never heard of, entelodonts, also known as hell pigs. And yes, they looked just as terrifying as they sound. These things weren't actual pigs, more like demonic warthogs crossed with rhinos and built like tanks. Imagine a 1,000-pound monster with a skull over 3 feet long, jaws that could crush bones, and a body that looked like it was forged in the underworld. They stood taller than a grizzly and ran faster than a horse. And they didn't just fight other animals, they bullied them. Entelodonts weren't strict carnivores, they were opportunists, scavengers, hunters, and intimidators. They'd kill for food, sure, but they'd also kill for dominance, for status, for fun. Early humans crossing the open plains of Eurasia or North America might have thought they were safe until one of these monsters thundered over the horizon like a juggernaut from hell. They didn't sneak. They stormed. If you were in their path, you weren't just a snack. You were a statement. And let's be real, if a hell pig caught you, you weren't going to be swallowed whole. You were going to be smashed, tossed, and torn apart, because that's how these prehistoric psychopaths played. Eurasian cave hyenas. Regular hyenas are already terrifying. Their cackling laughter, their bone-crushing jaws, their pack mentality. Now take all that and crank it up to 11. That's what you get with the Eurasian cave hyenas. These beasts were 30% larger than modern hyenas. They hunted in massive packs and were smart, scary smart. Fossil evidence shows that they dragged prey into caves. They planned attacks. They outnumbered and overwhelmed mammoths. So what do you think they did when they came across a small band of humans? They didn't just kill us. They chased us, surrounded us, and sometimes even herded us like prey. And because they lived in caves, the same caves humans were trying to claim, that meant war, territorial war, species-on-species conflict. There are records of humans burning hyena dens, smashing skulls, and leaving behind bones with cut marks. But guess what? The hyenas fought back. They left our bones in their caves too, punctured, crushed, and torn. This wasn't just survival, it was warfare. And the hyenas? They weren't just fighting us. They were enjoying the fight. All right. Here's one from the skies because the ground wasn't terrifying enough. Meet Pelornis, the giant bony-toothed bird with a wingspan of over 20 feet. This thing could glide for hours over ancient coastlines, scanning the waves and shores for anything edible or vulnerable. Now, some say it lived off fish. Cool. But others point out those terrifying pseudo-teeth lining its beak, spikes made of bone perfect for gripping. Maybe it went after seals. Maybe small mammals. Maybe humans. Think about it. Early humans traveling along shorelines, building rafts, scavenging fish. Suddenly, a shadow blots out the sun, a screech echoes above, and before you can react, you're grabbed, lifted, and possibly dropped to your death from 100 feet up. Pelornis may not have needed to eat humans, but like the raptors in Jurassic Park, it could have figured out how. And that's enough to lose sleep over.
But here's the twist in the story. The ultimate plot twist in Earth's evolutionary drama. The prey learned how to fight back. Fire, spears, traps, language, strategy. Humans evolved fast. We started organizing. We stopped being easy prey and started becoming the most dangerous thing on the planet. Eventually, we hunted the giants into extinction. Smilodon? Gone. Gigantopithecus? Gone. Terror birds? Gone. Even Dinosuchus disappeared. And not just because of climate shifts. It's likely that human expansion helped push many of these monsters over the edge.
We went from being hunted for sport to ending the sport altogether. But that doesn't mean we weren't shaped by it. Our fear of the dark, the silence before sleep, that instinct to look over our shoulder in the woods, that's the memory of being prey. It's buried deep in our DNA. Because for thousands of years, the world was ruled by monsters who didn't just kill to survive. They hunted us for fun.